Good afternoon. In today's In the Meantime, I'd like to talk about the gods we worship. Now, we prefer to think of ourselves as thoroughly modern people who are Christian, monotheist in belief. Yet, how many of our waking hours are consumed thinking about money versus how much time do we spend each week praying or meditating on the God of the Hebrew and Christian Bible? Jesus clearly tells us that we cannot worship or follow both God and mammon. Mammon, by the way, is Hebrew for wealth. Do we hedge our bets following one part one a time and the other part the rest of the time? It is instructive to see how the Greeks thought about their gods. Let's start with Plutus, the god of wealth. Jesus clearly tells us, during the classical period, Greek mythology, Plutus is described as being blinded by Zeus so that he would be able to dispense his gifts of fortune without prejudice. Plutus is also described as lame because he takes his time arriving for his human subjects, and he has wings so that fortune departs faster than it ever arrives. When Plutus' sight is restored in one Greek comedy, he is able to determine who is deserving of wealth and thereby creates havoc. In art, Plutus is described as the one bearing the cornucopia, the horn of plenty. In some cases, Plutus is a boy in the arms of Irene, the goddess of peace, implying that the gift of peace brings prosperity. In other words, Plutus is shown in other works, Plutus is shown in the arms of Tyche, the god of cities, telling us that wealth accumulates in the urban areas. So far, that's not much different than today. As early as the 1300 BC Mycenaean period, wine, winemaking, grape harvest, and ecstasy was worshipped in the god Dionysos, who was followed and written about extensively. Since Dionysos represented the sap or lifeblood of nature, lavish rituals were observed, attended mainly by women. Dionysos was also the god of insanity and theater. Also called the liberator, Dionysos' wine, music, and ecstatic dance free his followers from self-conscious fear and care and subvert the oppressive restraints of the powerful. Those who partake of his mysteries are believed to become possessed and empowered by the god himself. Wine would later become central to the Jewish Sabbath and Christian Eucharistic observances. I wonder if Dionysos is still with us. Wine, as understood by Greek religion, was not only symbolic of the god, but it represented the incarnation of the god on earth. Wonder where we've heard that before. By the post-classical period of Greece, Dionysian rituals became connected with the correct consumption of wine rather than the overconsumption of it in earlier times. And it seems as if some societies, at least, can become self-correcting over many centuries. When it comes to war, however, the Greeks celebrated feminine and masculine forms. Athena was the feminine goddess of war, representing intellect, strategy, and leadership. She is the namesake of the capital city of Greece, Athens. Her temple is the Acropolis, high above the city. Her brother Ares represents the violent, brutal, untamed aspect of war, and although he embodies the physical valor necessary for success in war, he was considered a dangerous force, overwhelming, insatiable in battle, destructive, and manslaughtering, according to one scholar. His sons were named Fear and Terror. In the Iliad, Zeus tells Ares that he is the god most hateful to Zeus. Ares endowed places with a savage, dangerous, and militarized quality. In the Trojan War, Athena wins the day and is led away with Nike, the god of victory, while Ares is associated with the losing side. After the Roman conquest of Greece, the Roman god Mars is basically a rebranded version of Ares. We could go on with this like a college class, but by now you should begin to see some familiar themes coming through from 1,000 years before Jesus. I'm sure that historians 3,000 years from now if humanity still exists. We'll talk about our culture worshiping the gods of Facebook and shopping. The real question of loyalty and its successive practice of belief is, where do you spend your time and what moves your heart? The answer to that is between you and the gods.